thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. My name is Dean Yao, I'm the Director of Marketing here at Infinite Software. I'm joined by Mike Poplowski, who's our Systems Engineer. Mike's going to be going over a demo later on after I go through some introductory slides. So he'll show you a lot of the good stuff that's going on in JReport and demonstrate some of the concepts that I'll be talking about. Just a reminder that you can ask any questions in the questions box in your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll have people online answering those as we go forward. All right, so let's go ahead and start. We're going to talk today about embedded reporting on SQL databases from any application. All right, so I just want to talk about some of the highlights of JReport. JReport is an embeddable data visualization platform. It has a lot of the reporting capabilities, dashboard capabilities, and data analytics that you can embed into your own applications. So three of the main highlights here. The first one is in high performance and scalability. So JReport has a lot of features in it that we've been around since 1998, and we've had a chance to really hone the performance, scalability of our reporting engine at JReport, and now we're able to provide things like intelligent push-down technology, where you can actually JReport can actually push down specific types of queries, like aggregation queries, to the database, and for the database to calculate the result sets, and those result sets would be passed back to JReport for storage into their in-memory cubes. We have a proprietary in-memory cube technology. And that allows very quick access to that aggregate information, which is used predominantly in dashboards and data analysis. For reports rely heavily on detail information, and we have different caching technologies that allow caching of detailed information for reports to consume. We also have clustering, where you can actually cluster out JReport instances on either virtual or physical nodes. So basically you can cluster out identical instances of these nodes, build out a cluster, and it's great for high performance, scalability, and also eliminating any kind of single points of failure, because they're all identical instances. There's no fully distributed, there's no master or server, master or slave architecture. The second one is in self-serviceability. So JReport is a tool set that has a very low learning curve, and it's really geared for end users and business users to be able to create and modify their own reports through Adhoc Reporting, ad hoc dashboards, and even ad hoc data analysis. So it's a very empowering tool for end users to create. Of course, your report developers can create canned reports and set those all up, but the flexibility is there for any user to create and modify their own customized reports. And the last one, very importantly, is in flexibility. So JReport has the ability to mash up data from any kind of data source, relational databases, so you can actually use JReport to create your own SQL statements using our SQL Builder. It's actually a very easy graphical tool. Mike will show you that later, to be able to build your own SQL statements. And also you can import your own SQL statements. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of sets of SQL statements already that you're using. Well, you don't have to create all those from scratch. You can import existing SQL statements for use. And we're also partnered with a lot of big data vendors. So whether they're NoSQL databases or Hadoop data sources, we can actually pull data from many of those different types of big data sources. And even cloud data. We have partnerships with Microsoft Azure Data Warehouse, as well as Amazon Web Services, their Redshift data warehouse service, as well as RDS, their relational database service that lets you connect to different vendors of databases in Amazon Cloud. And JReport is very embeddable. It's very customizable. You can actually white label it. You can adjust the look and feel of JReport to make it look blended and entirely embedded and integrated into your own applications on the front end, so the reports and dashboards look like they're part of your front end UI, as well as the back end. You can actually integrate JReport Server directly into your back end, integrated with your single sign-on, integrated with your security systems and your administration management systems. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the embedded aspect of JReport, since that's what JReport is heavily focused in doing. So again, it's an embeddable BI platform. It has all the security administration features that enterprise expect. It's very customizable, so it's you can white label it. Unfortunately, it's oftentimes our customers are wiping out our label, our logo actually, to make it look seamlessly blended into their applications. We have a very strong sense of metadata management, where everything is stored into catalogs for easy reuse later on. So if you create some components like charts, tables, or crosstabs, or you set up some formulas, all of your dimensions, all of your measures, even entire reports and dashboards can be easily reused later on, so you're not starting from scratch every time you want to create a new report or dashboard. We have a wide set of development tools, the main one being JReport Designer. This is a very sophisticated tool set that lets report developers build components like charts, tables, and crosstabs, and then also build their control components like slider bars, crosstabs that you can drill into, all the interactive elements of reports and dashboards, and this lets you fine-tune the details of those and also put them into libraries for easy reuse later on, libraries and catalogs for easy reuse later on. And we have an extensive API set for application embedding. That's really the deepest level of integration comes through our APIs when your host applications talks to JReport's applications to control the functionality of JReport that way. I just want to make one more reminder announcement that we may have sent out the wrong link for you to join the GoToWebinar. So if you're showing up as Dean Y panelist, please go ahead and change that display name from your control panel. We'd appreciate that. Thanks very much. All right, so moving right along, let's talk about some of the options for integration and embedding. So over on the y-axis, you can see that we have the deployment integration. So how do you basically package JReport in with your application? And on the x-axis is the functional integration. How do you have your application control JReport in a number of different ways? So out of the box, JReport runs as a standalone system just fine. So you can download JReport, you can install it, and run it standalone. You don't have to integrate it at all. So standalone is the obviously no integration, no embedding. And then moving up the y-axis, we have application servers like JBoss, Tomcat are very common ones that folks are just dropping in JReport Server as an EAR world file and allowing the application server allowing JReport to sit in the application server. Then we move on to application embedding. Here is where you can actually integrate JReport and provide links in your JSP, ASP, and PHP files for that type of deployment integration. So lots of different options to integrate and deploy JReport with your application. On the functional side, we have URL and API integrations, URL API and Java API integrations, where you can actually pass APIs through the URL so that you can send specific parameters and URL variables through the API variables through the URL to control reports and dashboards that way. And of course, your application can use our JReport Java APIs directly to control the functionality of JReport Server from your host application. So different options to provide functional integration. All right, now let's talk about Adhoc Reporting. This is a very popular tool and solution that our customers, users are using. So this is really geared at power and business users to be able to create and modify their own reports. So they can start with a wizard. For example, on the left side here, you can see that they start with a blank template or a blank canvas, and then they can start carving that canvas up into different areas. And then they can put in different tables, charts, crosstabs into those different areas, and then provide it a look and feel or from a predefined template. And they can also pick and choose which data sources to provide into those, to populate the data into those components. So we have new technologies where you can actually take data from not only the different tables in the same database, but you can combine and do distributed joins of tables across different databases, join them together, and display that data into a common, for example, chart. So distributed joins is a very powerful technology that we released earlier this year. So also with Adhoc Reporting, you can set up your own interactions, your own report interactions like sorts, filters, drilling down all the OLAP types of capabilities that you expect, linking to other reports, and you can do all this to adhere to your security and corporate governance policies. So it's very quick and easy to take our wizard and create the report you see on the right, and then if you change your mind, you want to change some things, you can go into edit mode and you can, let's say, drag and drop more charts over. You can drag in more columns and rows in the crosstabs, the dimensions and measures. All of these can be changed on the fly dynamically. All right, let's talk about ad hoc data analysis. This is really intended for a business and end users to be able to perform their own quick data analysis in a very agile fashion. So again, when you pop open our visual analysis tool, which is really the tool we released 2 years ago that enables ad hoc analysis, you see a blank crosstab. And then immediately you see your data on the left. You can start dragging over and dropping in dimensions and measures to see the data immediately without having to go through a wizard type of setup. So you see your data immediately, let's say as text form, as a bar chart, but you can easily swap out that look and feel. You can change from a bar chart to a line chart to a pie chart. You can add shapes. You can pivot the rows and columns. You can take out dimensions, add in new dimensions and measures. So all of this lets you interact with your data very quickly, changing the data view very quickly. So screenshots definitely don't do this justice. Mike will show you a live demo of this later on. And this is made very quick through our in-memory cubes. All of this is aggregate information that's stored in our proprietary in-memory cubes that you'd have to build the cube beforehand, but once that's done, you can actually change the data view very, very quickly. So a little bit more about in-memory cubes and caching. A cube, this is a three-dimensional cube. Of course, cubes can be n-dimensional. When the system administrator creates a cube, the cube is actually is pushing down aggregation queries to the database, and the database passes back the aggregation result sets, the data sets, and populates the cube that way. So we have a universal data connection layer that actually allows JReport to talk to many different types of data sources. Of course, relational databases like your MySQL, SQL Server, Informix, Oracle, Postgres. A lot of databases are supported that way. Big data, we have partnerships with a lot of the NoSQL vendors, as I mentioned, Hadoop vendors. If you have any kind of unstructured, semi-structured data that you want to store, we're able to pull data from those data sources and populate our aggregate information into the cube, and we can even pull over detail information and store them into our disk detail caches. As I mentioned, reports still display detail information, whereas summary information are stored into or displayed in dashboards. We even can access different types of flat files, whether it's JSON files or XML files, CSV files. We can talk to web services. And if you have your own custom data source, we have API sets that let you be able to programmatically define your own connection to the data source through our user-defined API. All right, so a little bit about the big data visualization. I'm not going to define what big data is. It's large, fast, unstructured, complex. But a lot of different ways to store that data. So with NoSQL databases, we've actually have partnerships with MongoDB, HP Vertica, Apache HBase, and we're working on other ones as well. And some of these are actually, we would just access data through ODBC and JDBC. But with others like MongoDB, we've actually built out a custom connector that talks to their aggregation framework API. So it actually sidesteps MapReduce and talks directly to their aggregation functionality to be able to pull aggregate information that way. So it's a much more efficient way of getting that aggregate data values. With Apache Hadoop, a lot of customers are actually using Hadoop side by side with NoSQL, using Hadoop as a modern data warehouse and using NoSQL as a more of a transactional type of data store. And we've built out partnerships with Hortonworks, MapR, and Cloudera. With Hortonworks and Cloudera, we're actually connecting through Apache Hive, and with Cloudera Impala, But with MapR, we've built out some additional interfaces with Hive and also Apache Drill, which is a new way to connect to these data sources. So we work with a lot of different types of vendors and build out specific types of connections depending on what is the most high performance method of accessing data from their data source. All right, so moving along, let's talk about JDashboard. So once you have a lot of these components and you've stored, in your report developer has stored them into component libraries, end users can easily just drag and drop them over onto a blank canvas. Let's say a map, from Google Maps, a slider chart, indicator chart, tables, crosstabs. They can just drag and drop them over, move them around, and create their dashboards on the fly very, very quickly. So JDashboard is a way to just quickly build dashboards and deliver them over the web. Supports HTML5. We can have a synchronized refresh. If you want to set a filter, you can have that filter apply to one or all of the components on the dashboard. So it's very interactive, and we can integrate third-party tools, as I mentioned, Google Maps, OpenStreetMap, so a lot of functionality that way. And one of the last things I want to talk about is information delivery. So once you have all this great visualization, how do you get this into the hands of your end users? Well, with the web, we have, these are just three of the integrations that we have, example integrations with our customers, Visa, Video, and Passkey, which is now acquired by Lanyon. But it's, you can't really tell where JReport starts and where the application ends. It's blended in so seamlessly that it looks like JReport is part of the host application. So again, we support things like HTML5. With the web, you can actually set report scheduling to be able to run the reports on demand or in a scheduled fashion on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. We support things like report bursting, where you can create the report once and send it out to many individuals, and each individual will get their own customized data view depending on, let's say, their name and their job function. So a lot of ways to deliver reports with just creating a one report and delivering to many different people. And you can even export these reports out to, let's say, PDF, XML, Excel. So when you export this out into Excel, we're not just copying and pasting images of charts and these visualizations. We're actually creating real Excel objects. So you can actually continue to do the interactions and change the representation of the data entirely in Excel. You can even send them out through email. You can send them to email servers, even fax them in fax servers. So the other way is through JReport Mobile, and JReport Mobile is a native iOS app that you can download for free from the Apple App Store and interact with any kind of dashboard that you create with JDashboard. You can interact now on the go with a mobile device. All right, and the last slide I want to talk about before I hand things over to Mike is some of the highlights in our latest release, JReport 13.1. We released this back in February of this year, and some of the core highlights are in geoanalysis. So we're better supporting maps, basically, from Google Maps and also open source technology called OpenStreetMap. Users can now set up hierarchical drill up and drill down. So you can set up a path that lets you drill up and drill down, let's say, from region to country to states to county to city, and then go back up. And then we can also set customized markers and areas where you can actually, color shade the different states, different colors depending on, let's say, population or unemployment rate. And you can even drop pins onto, or rather shapes, because you can customize the shape of a pin onto different states or cities. You can change the color and the shape and the size of those as well. Visual analysis gets a boost in performance and functionality, where before visual analysis was a standalone feature. And now we've fully integrated it in with JDashboard, so that when you're looking at the dashboard, one of those components could be visual analysis, where it lets you interact with the data, as I mentioned before, in an agile fashion, changing the data very quickly, and Mike will show you that a little bit later on. But this also calls attention to the fact that our products are very unified. The features that we release are all interchangeable and compatible with each other. So also we have enhanced SaaS enablement. We now support full multi-tenancy, where each tenant is a silo so that it's protected from one another. So each tenant's administrator can fully manage their own resources, their own security policies, their own users. We have a lot of flexibility and performance enhancements. I mentioned distributed joins, where you can join tables across different databases, and we're now better able to handle filtering and rendering of very large data sets in charts and also crosstabs. All right, so with that, let me change things over to Mike, and he'll show you a quick demo. So let me see if I can find Mike. Okay, can you guys, let's see, Mike's now the presenter.
All right, thank you very much, Dean. My name is Mike. I'm one of the technical sales engineers here at JinfoNet Software. In today's webinar, the topic is how do we embed JReport within your existing web application using some type of a SQL database. And as Dean mentioned, what is JReport? It consists of two products, JReport Designer and JReport Server Live. And typically your report development team will use JReport Designer, this report developer's toolkit. It's used to make a connection to a variety of different data repositories. Now today's topic is SQL databases, and as Dean mentioned, we connect to a variety of different relational database management systems. We use JDBC drivers, but you can certainly use multiple data sources within your reporting solution. We have native connectors to MongoDB as well as big data. So once you have that data source connection within JReport Designer, and this is what it looks like. It's the semblance of creating that metadata layer. And within that metadata layer, we'll store that connectivity to your relational database management system. And also, we try to incorporate as much of your database functionality as possible. What tables would you like to use for reporting? Do you have any views? Do you have any stored procedure? Do you have any SQL scripts? You can reuse all that database functionality within JReport Designer. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And once you have this connectivity to your relational database management system, now you can begin building all those predefined reports, the library components, and that metadata layer, and publish everything to JReport Server Live. So let's take a look. You've accomplished that task in your report development team. Now we want to showcase some of the features, whether that's an interactive report. Some people refer to this as the predefined reports, interactive reports, the canned reports. And this, what we're seeing here, this is an example of how we embed within any web application. So this is JReport, but within your application, how do we embed JReport? Simply modify your web pages, whether they're .php files, ASP or JSP files, and adding either an iframe or a div tag. And in the case of this sample web application, these are nothing more than div tags. And within that div tag, we have links. It's very simple to create those links. There's just a couple parameters that are required. But this is how we embed JReport on the front end of your web application. Your web developers are capable of this. But we also incorporate embedding on the back end. We have a series of APIs. These are Java-based APIs. So if you have a Java backend, we can seamlessly integrate into your environment. So normally, users have to log into JReport Server Live. They have to log into your application. But utilizing those JReport APIs, they can use single sign-on. So calling our APIs, you can implement JReport within your existing backend or your existing front end. Let's take a look at the reports. You can determine what type of reports you're going to roll out to your user. If you want to implement a lot of features and functionality, whether it's sorting on a column heading or filtering on any type of report, there's always a toolbar. So the users can sort, they can filter, they can print their pixel perfect reports in PDF format or that what you see, what you get report in HTML format. But they can also turn around, because we understand there's a large percentage of users, they're not accustomed to getting their work done in a reporting application. In that case, they want to export their data into a wide variety of different formats. And among our user base, Excel is by far the most common format. The user can determine what version, and JReport will dynamically generate this full-featured worksheet. Now, how have we integrated these features to make these users more productive? If there's any formulas used in generating a report, we will preserve those formulas. You can see that here within this formula bar. Any type of object, we're not exporting GIFs and JPEGs, we're exporting chart objects in which those users who are accustomed to creating their visuals in Excel, they have the ability to modify the subtypes or change it to a completely different chart type. All this is possible within JReport to accommodate those users in getting their work done. But let's showcase what level of interactivity is available within the predefined reports. Creating this semblance of a metadata layer, we offer the capability users can drill down. In our schema, we have columns for region and country and territory and state and city. This allows you to create the concept of a hierarchy, which the users could drill down, drill up, drill to a specific value. Not necessarily only a pie chart, but every component within your reporting application. I can click on Asia Pacific, drill down to the next level in that hierarchy. The more hierarchies you have in your schema, the more interactive JReport is going to be with your users. Providing these web filter controls, users really like this because it helps them see all the options that are available for filtering, and we could take it another step further. For that small subset of advanced users, the so-called power users, they may require even more interactivity. So we could display this resources panel, and this is what that metadata layer appears to the user. We have detail level information, we have dimension information where users can group. The little red ticks indicate which data elements are currently being used, as well as all this aggregate type of information. But the user has the ability to drag and drop to really modify those reports, to tailor them however they want to. So even though we call these predefined reports, it's acting more like an ad hoc report. And again, that toolbar which allows printing and exporting, you can save things to a private folder, you can save things to a public folder. So embedding JReport, all this interactivity, these are just some of the features available in a predefined report. We're going to take a look at another feature within JReport. For a small subset of your user base, they need the ability to create their own ad hoc reports from scratch. We provide this web-based wizard-style approach, four-step process, beginning with choosing from these predefined templates, which you, of course, can modify. You can brand these with your client's color schemes and images and background colors just by modifying the cascading style sheets, stepping through the wizard. And the feature of ad hoc reporting, we completely insulate your users from any knowledge of your data schemas, your databases, the tables, the join conditions, completely insulated from the user. The only prerequisite is they understand how to build a table report. They have to understand how to build a bar chart just by selecting data elements and clicking buttons. So in this ad hoc process, let's just put something on the top, something on the bottom, maybe a chart. On the bottom, we'll put something a little different, a table report. Clicking the next step, JReport offers you the ability where you can choose from one data source or multiple data sources all within the same ad hoc report. I can use data source A for the bar chart, data source B, a completely different data source for the table report. Here's how that metadata layer appears to the user. You've aliased those really cryptic column names. You've determined what type of data from your schema's detail level, dimension level, aggregate level. But from the end user perspective, all they have to understand is how do I build a bar chart? Simply by highlighting a data element. I work in a sales department. My manager is tasking me to build a bar chart broken down by region. And then what type of aggregate or measure data is used to display the values? Well, here we have that aggregate or measure data. Your report developers created this summary type information in that metadata layer. All the user has to do is highlight and click. And we feel with confidence that with a small amount of coaching, training, or mentoring, most users, even those advanced users, have the ability to create their own ad hoc report from scratch. Let's continue in the process to build a table report. We can choose a different data source. It's very seamless. The only requirement in building a table report is the details section, which falls under the display tab. The user simply highlights whichever data elements they would like to place on this table report simply by just scrolling down the list. We see detail level information, we see dimension level information. The user, they could change the labels. These are going to appear as the group header on the report, and that's all that's required to build this table report. But every use case is different. Some users may want to group their information for each country or each customer or region. It's simple. Highlight the data element, click the arrow. JReport allows multiple levels of grouping. And in some other users, they may have a use case to provide that summary level information. So if they click on the tab, here's that aggregate or measure data fully prepared in advance for your end users by your report development team. But they're not restricted to that. They can create their own aggregate information on the fly. They simply highlight the data element, click the arrow, and determine exactly where the placement is within this ad hoc report. They could save it, run this report. Everything is web-based from A to Z. And within this metadata layer, just like the predefined reports, that concept of a hierarchy allows the drilling down from a region to a country to a city level just by clicking or right-clicking within this context-sensitive menu. We can drill down in the hierarchy, we can drill up in the hierarchy, or we can change the dimensions of this ad hoc report on the fly. It doesn't require an extra trip to the server because all of these data elements present in the metadata layer, it was all initially part of the query. We're simply using dynamic HTML and JavaScript to re-render this report on the fly. If your user realized, oops, I made a mistake, I wasn't supposed to display the state, they still have that ability by right-clicking on a column heading. They could switch the columns. Again, here's the metadata layer as presented to the user, and they could change this to any other data elements. And in fact, for that small subset of those advanced users to really tweak these reports, to modify them, to slice them and dice them, to add more granular levels of data, they can easily do that by dragging and dropping any data element wherever the orange line appears on a column level or on a row level, just simply by dragging and dropping. So we try to make JReport as interactive as possible for the end users. Some users may not click on buttons, but other users require the interactive ability to really slice and dice their reports. Let's take a look at another special type of an ad hoc report. Dean alluded to this earlier, called visual analysis. This is used in business intelligence reporting of aggregate type of information. And we provide this drag and drop style approach to building their reports. As Dean mentioned, we query your data sources. We cache that data in our OLAP style memory queues, but the users, this is my favorite feature of JReport, it can't get easier than dragging and dropping. In a sales department, I'm constantly tasked to build reports broken down by region level, and these are the abbreviations for Asia Pacific. Some time element for this report, whether month, quarter, or year. I'll just drag and drop month. So now we have the semblance of this report. It's extremely interactive for the user. If they make a mistake, undo it, or just simply drag and drop those data elements. And in the sales department, typically total information, whether quantity, cost, or sales, just by dragging and dropping these data elements right onto the grid. If you make a mistake, it's very simple to swap out the column and the row headings. If you want JReport to dynamically generate a color-coded legend, simply scroll down the list. Which of these data elements would you like to create that dynamic legend? In our products, maybe I'll create a legend based on category. Drag and drop that right onto the color palette, and voila. So now we have a semblance of an aggregate visual analysis, but my manager prefers bar charts. It's very simple to do this drag and drop process. Now we're starting to get to a report that my manager can make some informed business decisions. And you saw it was just as easy to add dimensions as it is to remove a dimension. We support the use of multiple dimensions. Let's tailor this aggregate style visual analysis with year followed by month. So 2013 and 14, and then we have that month by month breakdown. I can hover over these bars to see that information, and this looks good. I'm going to save this report. I'll call this the webinar report. And in just a moment, we're going to showcase this visual analytics within the dashboard feature of JReport. And that's the last segment today. This is yet another feature. Dean did a great job of visualizing what's available in our dashboard feature of JReport. We provide the templates, whether you want to build a robust dashboard component library based on your crosstabs or your summaries, or if you want to visualize your dashboards. We provide the templates for bar charts, area charts, line charts, and if you're not satisfied with single charts, you can create combination charts. Let's add a bar chart with a line chart all in the same dashboard component. You can see the user has a tremendous amount of interactivity to resize slider controls, to drag them, even right on the component itself to filter their own data. We have examples of geoanalysis, whether it's Google Maps, OpenStreetMap licensing. The user, they can filter their data. We incorporate messaging or parameters that are passed into one, if not multiple, dashboard components. Each dashboard component has an advanced feature we call auto refresh. How often do you want to query your data source? So if you need that up-to-the-minute reporting on these dashboard components, you can set the dashboard component to automatically refresh with that updated information. This is just a sampling of dashboard components, incorporating those geoanalysis components using OpenStreetMap in this case. Here's an example of that combination chart. So you determine whether or not you want to incorporate two-dimension reporting of your dashboard components, 3 dimensions. We provide that robust repository of templates. And here's an example showcasing yet again the interactivity utilizing that metadata layer with the hierarchy. Drill down from a region to a country, right-clicking on a different type of product hierarchy in which the user could change the dimensions. Well, let's see all the payments that were received broken down by these countries. Tremendous amount of interactivity. In the final segment of today's demo, we're going to see how the user experiences the dashboard feature of JReport. They simply navigate to the repository of the library components. Your report development team has done a fantastic job of building this robust repository. Now it's the user's turn. Simply drag and drop any number of components right onto their dashboard canvas. They can move things, they can resize things, but they're not limited just to the dashboard. They have the ability to reuse everything within our product. Early on, we saw those predefined reports. You can easily incorporate all those report components within the dashboard feature of JReport. These should look fairly similar. Here was that pie chart and that crosstab we showcased in the predefined reports. We could reuse that within the dashboard feature of JReport. We provide a tabbed interface. If you run out of real estate, you can easily create more room for your dashboard components. And we have, let's see, we called it our, what do we call our visual analysis? I forgot the name. July webinar? Mike Jimfonet? Oh, webinar report. Here we go. I can drag and drop that visual analytics right into the dashboard component as if I created it myself. Hovering over, just like in visual analysis, but we have the ability to analyze this and continue editing this visual analytics as if I was the owner or the creator of it. I could tailor this by changing the different styles. If I'm not comfortable with a bar chart, I can change it to either a line, a pie, or a shape. I like lines. And the last thing is I would like to have a filter. Since I work in a sales department, I need everything broken down by region, so just drop that data element right onto the filter panel. And since Asia Pacific is not my region, we deselect it. This visual analytics reruns. Great performance. So today's demo, we showcased the interactive reports or predefined reports. We took a look high level at the ad hoc feature, we've seen visual analytics, and how all that ties together within the dashboard feature of JReport. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn things back over to Dean.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mike. By the way, we're getting some good chat questions coming in, so please go ahead and continue to ask any questions over chat. We'll make sure to get to that. And I've been answering a few. Mike, if you could take over, that'd be great. So I just have a couple more slides remaining. Let me go ahead and show my screen here. Okay, so honestly, the rest of the slides are sort of more markety. So this slide is really talking about our installed base. We have a lot of customers. The two main types of customers we work with are OEM ISVs, where these folks are embedding JReport into their on-prem or SaaS products, and so it's embedded in there, and it's delivered in JReport is delivered and shipped with our OEM customers' products. And the other, and about over 2/3 of our business is an OEM, so we do a lot of different types of OEM engagements. And the other type of customer are direct customers, where customers are actually integrating and embedding JReport into their own internal applications for their internal users. So lots of different types of ways to embed JReport. A few of our recent wins are there, and overall we work with many different types of verticals, all the way from financial, telecom. I'm not going to go through all of them, but some recognizable logos there. And just want to give you some next steps. And so we'll send out an email, a follow-up email. We can send you a link to an exclusive 13.1 trial. It's a fully functional download. We can be happy to do a proof of concept with you guys, and also we'll send you a white paper about a little bit more about embedded reporting and analytics. You can go on our website to check out an on-demand product demo anytime. It kind of goes into some further details about different parts of the product. And feel free to reach out to us. My email is there, DYAO, and also Mike's email is there, and follow us on Twitter at JinfoNet. And we will stay on for a little longer to answer questions. Actually, a couple questions came in on the questions box there, so let's see if I can find them. Maybe I can have Mike answer these. So Mike, one of the questions that came in is, we already have hundreds of queries written. Do we need to write new queries or modify our queries to enable ad hoc reporting?
That's a great question. The answer is no. You will not have to rewrite any of those queries. We will incorporate those queries into JReport Designer and create the semantic layer. In other words, a view. The next step in the process, we want to alias those cryptic column names, and secondly, we want to take those data elements and determine, well, what types are detail, what types are dimension, and what types are aggregate or measure. But the answer is no, you will not have to rewrite any of those queries.
Okay, sounds good. Also, let's see, another one that came in is, how do you embed and customize JReport in non-Java environments? So for all of you on the webinar, JReport is written entirely in Java, but this question deals with non-Java environments.
That's another excellent question. Thanks for submitting your questions, folks. So this is an example of embedding JReport on the back end. Typically, it's done within a Java environment, because since JReport is a Java web-based application, we expose all that functionality via the JReport Java APIs. So you can implement an interface, and you could do things such as single sign-on. So logging into JReport Server Live will work in cohesion with your web application. Everything from programmatically creating the metadata layer, scheduling tasks, and single sign-on. These are the core features of implementing JReport on your back end.
All right, great. And one last question is, let's see, can we customize JReport to integrate with our existing single sign-on and security systems?
Yes, you can. That's integrating Java, the JReport APIs on your back end. Yes, so that's the same question.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Well, thanks a lot, Mike, and thanks to everyone for joining on the webinar. Sorry about the sending out the wrong link in the calendar invite, folks. Make sure not to do that again. It seems like a GoToWebinar doesn't provide unique links to all of the attendees. But anyways, continue to ask your questions in the chat box, the questions box, and we will be here till the top of the hour to answer those. Thanks everyone for joining, and hope to talk to you soon.